Can a movie that I enjoyed thoroughly also be misguided? That's the question that I ask myself when I watch The Lost World Jurassic Park. It has so many elements that are superlative, there are fantastic, memorable, and creative sequences, and then it goes and plays dumb for a bit. And how does that all stack up? Well, to really figure that out, I have to analyze The Lost World looking at 3 things it did well, and 3 things it didn't do so well. This is the good and the bad in The Lost World Jurassic Park. And strength number 1 is this still feels like Jurassic Park. It's got the same visual signatures, the same dynamic energy, and yet despite the similarities, structurally it is quite different. Like you have your normal assortment of dino attacks, but Lost World also has a couple of extended sequences that are more about the people involved than the dinosaurs. And it showcases man as the aggressor and the dinosaurs as the victims. It's a nice change up from Jurassic Park where this dynamic wasn't really explored, though I wish we got to see the tables turned on the humans on the game trail like this bit of dialogue hints at.
This is a game trail, Mr. Ludlow. Carnivores hunt on game trails. Do you want to set up base camp or a buffet?
But maybe not getting a buffet here helps this scene and the one where Nick and Sarah release the captured dinosaurs to stand out. Like, these are not your standard dinosaur attacks. It's more just random dinosaur destruction, mayhem, and chaos. It gives the movie a jolt that distinguishes it from its predecessor. Even when it bears similarities to the original with a major T-Rex attack mid-movie, the raptor springing a surprise later, or a lone villain being stalked by a green third-string dinosaur in the woods, Lost World finds its own rhythm with these scenes. Dieter being stalked by compies is different from Nedry's death because the horror here comes from how it plays out like this horrific odyssey where Dieter's just progressively worn down and eventually overcome, and it's chilling. The raptor attack, meanwhile, is not as elegant as the ones in Jurassic Park, but it makes up for it by upping the intensity with having so much going on. There's a velocity to this scene that's very different to the kitchen attack in the original, and that velocity makes it memorable. And then there's a double T-Rex attack. And this scene, if you think about it, is pretty derivative of the original T-Rex attack in the first movie. From the dinosaurs involved, to the timing in the movie, to the overall atmosphere. The key is how Spielberg differentiates this scene. First, there's 2 T-Rexes, but more importantly, they leave early on. And though they return to kill Eddie, most of the scene is just 3 characters trying to survive and another character desperately trying to save them. And it's riveting.
Hands up! You're a lucky pack.
What amazes me here is just how creative this gets while underplaying the T-Rexes. It's not nearly as good as the T-Rex attack in Jurassic Park, but I find this one scarier and more intense because while I can't relate to being attacked by dinosaurs, I can imagine what hanging over a cliff like this would feel like. There are issues. I'm not big on Eddie dying so brutally, the scene goes on a tiny bit too long, and the humor is forced.
Yeah, 3 double cheeseburgers with everything. No onions on mine.
But bad humor aside, The Lost World manages to make the T-Rexes feel fresh, like later when one chases a flock of humans into a cave, while the other engages in a very tense mano-a-mano with Roland. Or the entire San Diego sequence where the tone of the action changes into an almost lighthearted disaster movie. Variety is the key to The Lost World's novelty. But as much as I appreciate the set pieces in this movie, there are characters in this movie as well. And I don't like the characters very much. That is weakness number 1. And that starts at the top with Ian Malcolm. I loved him in Jurassic Park as a supporting character. His quirks and mannerisms were perfect in small doses. Malcolm doesn't belong front and center, but he is front and center in The Lost World. And worse, he's now constantly moping and depressed. And while that's a natural evolution of his character, it doesn't make for engaging viewing. He's still watchable because Jeff Goldblum is good with that irreverent, casual way of speaking.
And you want to send people in, very few people, on the ground.
But it doesn't flow nearly as well.
Look, she has to touch it. She can't not touch. Look at that. Once she sees something, she's got to...
To me, that sounds more like an impression of Ian Malcolm than Ian Malcolm himself. Like, there are moments where his humor is on point.
It's wild goose chase.
Where you're going is the only place in the world where the geese chase you.
But for most of the movie, Malcolm is so self-serious, and the movie inexplicably chooses to zoom in really close on his face like 17 times.
Mommy's very angry. Hang on, this is gonna be bad.
Go. As fast as you can.
Now you're John Hammond.
Well, that's funny. That sounds like a sick burn, but Malcolm doesn't even come close to Hammond from the first movie. He's so uninteresting. Like, what's his character arc in this movie? His interactions with characters are the same at the beginning, same at the end. There's no dramatic tension because the conflict never heats up or cools down. And most egregious of all is his apparent romantic relationship with Sarah, where they start off fighting, and that's the last time the movie tries to have any sort of intrigue in their interactions. I don't sense any genuine affection between them. There's no growth in their relationship. It just feels like Julianne Moore and Jeff Goldblum talking with each other. Honestly, I think the creative team had fond memories of Malcolm from Jurassic Park, but then had no idea what to actually write for him in a sequel. So they just introduce us to his kid, make sure that relationship has almost as little of an arc as the one with Sarah, and then wrote him some very unconvincing action movie lines.
It's not a research expedition anymore. It's a rescue operation, and it's leaving right now. I'm taking the kid. If you really want to stop us, shoot us.
So Malcolm sucks because this feels like the wrong role for the character. But why does everyone else suck in this movie? Well, Sarah has some personality, but they don't do anything with this character. She has a tiny little arc where she wants to prove the parental instincts of a T-Rex.
I think that the debate over the parental instincts of a T-Rex is now academic.
But what else does she do other than be a token second protagonist with an unearned hero moment? She breaks out some dinosaurs and nurses the baby T-Rex back to health, but Vince Vaughn's character does the same thing. Those aren't purely Sarah character moments. I already talked about the lack of substance to her and Ian's relationship, but her not giving a single shit about Ian and his fear of this island based on his past emotional trauma is hard to stomach.
I'm taking my daughter out of here. Anybody who wants to come with me, this is your last chance to get out.
So listen, when you're out in the field, nothing we can do.
Equally hard to stomach is her introduction.
I don't like that. We're here to observe and document, not interact.
I feel like the movie's trying to say something about her by having her contradict herself in just the prior scene, or by having her be an expert in dinosaur parental behavior, and yet she still wears the jacket covered in the T-Rex's baby's blood, despite the fact that they're on a game trail with the adult T-Rexes after them. All this negative stuff would be fine if they were addressed at any point and Sarah showed any sort of arc, but nope, she never once admits to anything, she doesn't get held accountable, and it's hard for me to like a character like that. And then there's Nick, played by Vince Vaughn. He's a photographer, but he's also an eco-terrorist, so there's shades of gray again. He's mostly here to be a counterpoint to Roland Tembo, the big game hunter, and there are some genuinely good interactions between the two.
Somewhere on this island is the greatest predator that ever lived. Second greatest predator must take him down.
The animal exists on the planet for the first time in tens of millions of years, and the only way you can express yourself is to kill it.
So Nick is framed as the good guy of this pair, and yet everything he does feels selfish and hypocritical and unlikable. Like he just feels like an underdeveloped douchebag, and we're supposed to root for him, and it makes it hard to stomach. And oh my god, I just described Sarah Harding again. These two are the same character. At least Kelly's different. With Nick and Sarah, the Lost World seems to think we're impressed by them being assholes. There's no way in hell that the movie thinks we're impressed by this.
Kelly? Kelly, no!
Now obviously I have criticisms over how stupid this scene is, but let's think about the logic here. So her routine takes her 19 seconds, and she starts it when the raptor is on the ground floor. The raptor then has to hop up to go after Ian. And it's only around 15 seconds in that she goes, "Hey, you!"
Hey, you!
And then she continues to do more moves before she kicks the raptor out. So essentially, the raptor was down to the ground floor and she just started doing gymnastics with no chance of hitting the raptor, except the raptor moved into a convenient position to get kicked out of the window. What the f*** am I watching? Kelly feels like she was written and developed just to tie a bow on her extremely rudimentary character arc introduced in her first scene.
Gymnastics? I scrubbed out, Dad. I got cut from the team. Thanks for knowing.
Well, he certainly knows after the raptor scene.
The school cut you from the team?
And that, my friends, is how this movie handles character growth. The Lost World, everybody. Like everyone here is so simply drawn, even when there should be nuance. Roland is painted by this movie to be noble, by introducing squaring off with Ludlow, a character we despise. This guy is not motivated by money, but by the purity of wanting to face off against a T-Rex. But just like with Nick and Sarah, I think a lot of it falls flat. After tranquilizing the adult T-Rex, he tells Ludlow off one last time.
There's a job for you at the park in San Diego if you want it.
I believe I've spent enough time in the company of death.
But Roland is responsible for just as much shit here as everyone else. He's callous towards the dinosaurs. He's not all that sympathetic towards Ian's crew after Eddie's death. Roland isn't this noble hunter archetype. He's a hypocrite just like Nick and Sarah. And so I'm left with yet another character I don't like that the movie wants me to like. But at least they don't even try to do anything with the actual villains of this movie, like Peter Ludlow.
Careful. This suit costs more than your education.
Ludlow is a character who's written in the broadest of strokes so that when karmic retribution is delivered upon him by the T-Rexes at the end, we're supposed to cheer. But it's so transparent, the writing is so bad around him, it doesn't work. And The Lost World does this with two of its villains. Like, does anyone know anything about Dieter? No, his entire role is he shocks a couple of compies so that we get a scene where compies kill him and deliver karmic retribution on him. The only character I actually like is Eddie, and he gets an unnecessarily brutal death at the hands of the two T-Rexes after having maybe the most heroic moment in the entire series. This movie wants me to like shitty characters and to cheer the deaths of endearing characters. It's so misguided. The thing holding all of it together though is the direction, specifically the camera work, which is strength number 2. It's why the double T-Rex set piece is so riveting. It's freaking beautiful. Whether we're inside the trailer as it flips, looking down on the trio as they're dangling above the cliff, or this incredible one shot, this scene is terrifying because of the visual storytelling. Meanwhile, Kelly's gymnastic routine is awful, but the way Spielberg and cinematographer Janusz Kaminski use the camera to follow the characters through these various extended ordeals with the raptors frenetically all over the place is incredible. And I love this overhead shot during the San Diego sequence. And this is kind of why the exposition scenes in The Lost World work better than they have any right to based on the dialogue itself. Like when we meet Nick and Eddie, just having characters obscured by the workers in the foreground or having Nick arrive in his van during the scene adds so much dynamic energy to an otherwise forgettable scene. And what a beautiful shot this is! This is how a normal movie can be elevated. Like, I don't even remember what they're talking about, I just remember the scene's beauty. And if it weren't for the camera, I don't know if anyone could tolerate the actual exposition in this movie. The exposition is weakness number 2.
Thank God for Side B.
That's like Hammond essentially saying, "Welcome to Jurassic Park 2. It's not a bad line by itself, but the next several minutes are basically spent with Hammond trying to justify this movie's plot. I can suspend my disbelief, but this scene is over-explaining itself, and Malcolm is basically doing the audience's job of pointing out plot holes, only much more politely.
Side B.
The Lost World over-explains itself even when it doesn't need to. When we meet Kelly, we feel the strain between her and Malcolm, because she keeps telling the audience about that strain very explicitly.
Yeah, but I want you to crack on me a little bit, ground me or something, send me in my room. You never do any of that stuff.
And it gives Kelly character traits just to get an unearned heartwarming moment later.
Scrubbed out, Dad. I got cut from the team. Thanks for knowing.
The school cut you from the team?
I got it. I've been complaining that this movie doesn't actually develop Ian's character, he doesn't change at all. Well, I can fix the gymnastics scene to address that. You're grounded. Character relationships are very poorly written in The Lost World. Remember in Jurassic Park how Alan and Ellie's relationship was brilliantly conveyed with hardly any dialogue?
This is a slightly different situation.
Whereas in The Lost World, it's like the movie's trying to convince us about how much Ian and Sarah are actually a couple.
Come on, I'm the best kind of girlfriend there is. One who travels a lot. Or why not rescue me from that dinner with your parents that you never showed up for? Why not?
Outside of just saying relationshipy facts, these two act nothing like a couple all movie long. I don't think it has to do with the performances, just some really shoddy writing. Sometimes the performances are so good that you can't even notice how bad the exposition is.
All you need to do is sign the checks, tell us we're doing a good job, and open your case of scotch when we have a good day. Second condition, my fee. You can keep it.
Really? In this economy? Who accepts a negotiated fee with an employer and then at the first opportunity tells that employer, hey, don't pay me because here are all my character traits and this is why I do what I do and I'm so noble because I don't need any money? Who does that? No one. Because this movie takes so many shortcuts. The Lost World is all about shortcuts. That's weakness number 3. It's like a giant Deus Ex Machina. I mean, seriously, every major action scene seems to just sort of end. After the T-Rexes kill Eddie, the other 3 climb into the hands of an entire platoon of Roland's men? Where did the T-Rexes go? They can't be far off, and these guys are super noisy. And then in the next T-Rex attack, it certainly can't be far off from here.
It's okay. It's okay. It's coming back!
That T-Rex was gone for 16 seconds. I timed it. I want to know where it went. Yeah, so Ian showing up in the waterfall moments after the T-Rex is a cop-out, but the way the raptor attack ends is comical. Sarah just literally falls out of the scene, and that kind of highlights how haphazardly this movie's put together. It goes from a tense safari-style movie with a gritty atmosphere to something that feels like one part parody and one part sitcom. The two sections of this movie don't mesh. But to be honest, my third strength is the San Diego sequence. Granted, so little of it makes sense, starting with how the crew members of this ship are absolutely dismembered, despite the T-Rex being locked away in the cargo hold. But kudos to the ship crashing sequence. It's the one true suspenseful moment in San Diego. The rest of it feels like a joke.
How will we find the adult?
Follow the screams.
But the cheesy jokes kind of go with the vibes of the movie in this section. Like, there's this heightened sense of reality, everything feels kind of over the top, and it kind of works. Again, it's not the same movie it was even 15 minutes earlier. There's no suspense or stakes to anything at this point. The tension that was there when Dieter or Eddie died is gone. By switching into a disaster movie, deaths like this bystander have no weight to them because it's just another bit of mayhem. But still, the T-Rex roaring at city skylines, the T-Rex smashing buses, the T-Rex becoming domesticated, it's all so goofy, but it's memorable. It's really, really enjoyable because it's creative, it's different. Even the story, as clunkily as it's told, tackles unique themes compared to its predecessor, and I enjoy it. That's why, despite The Lost World having severe structural issues, I still appreciate it as a movie. It may have no one that I really want to root for and a tone that is about as consistent as it is subtle, but the creativity and technical prowess on hand is enough for me to enjoy watching this every time. So thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment. I love responding to comments, it helps the channel, and it puts a real pep in my step. In fact, I think I might be able to get more subscriptions if I did a nice gymnastics routine here.
Kelly? Kelly, no!
My name's not Kelly. Hey man, you don't need to be doing this. You got cut from the team. Oh.
Hey, you!
The school cut you from the team?